All right, time to ascend the wing. And Bruce is going to tell the story.
Beware of that creature in the crackling. Don't look around to see what's going on. Run like hell. They can kill you, so don't analyze, just get out. Okay, 3 stories. And these are informal stories. Interrupt me anytime with questions or comments, no problem. And if you get bored, you can just wander off and explore other things, no problem. And we'll go upstairs after the stories. Okay. The first story is vision and logistics for this project. All set?
Yeah.
Okay, jetliners are flying homes. They provide everything you need to live, except a shower and a clothes washer, which are easy to install. They're fabricated at aerospace technology levels with performance metrics which are far superior to ordinary homes. And during normal times, they retire at the rate of about 3 every day. Mostly, they're just flown to a scrapyard and shredded. At the very same time, on the very same planet, the very same species wanders around in places like that. They gather sticks. They take the sticks someplace and pound them together with metal spikes to make homes. Primitive, even for our species. So, on planet Earth, there are groups of people pounding sticks together with metal spikes to make primitive homes. Other groups of people on the same planet at the same time shredding the planet's finest aerospace class flying homes. It's completely irrational, and it'll stop someday in my estimation, but first, a really gorgeous, compelling example of the vision is needed. But this isn't it, because I made a key mistake on the front end. I partnered with one of the shredders. It was a horrible mistake. Basically, I made a phone call, actually an email, but we'll call it a phone call, sort of like this. Hello, I'm shopping for a home. How would you like to obliterate a home, just completely destroy it, and I'll give you my good hard-earned money for the rubble which is left? They, of course, said, okay, buddy, yeah, that's fine with us, buddy. We'd be happy to take your good hard-earned money for our rubble, no problem. When do we start? It was a stupid mistake. I'll never do it again. We're not doing it with the version 2.0 project. That'll be a fully intact, fully operational jetliner and stay that way, except we might remove the engines, but if we do, by strict service procedure by a service crew, no salvage company will be involved. But in this case, I partnered with a salvage company. They flew the aircraft from Athens, yeah.
Would 2.0 be in the same location?
No, Shintomi Cho. Have you been there?
No.
Very charming, roughly 10-minute train ride west of Miyazaki, where I live about half time.
Awesome.
Really pretty place.
Thank you.
Let's see, where was I? So the aircraft flew. Okay, so I partnered with a salvage company. They flew the aircraft from Athens International Airport in Greece to Hillsborough Airport, which is about 20 kilometers away, the nearest facility which can handle aircraft of this size. Landed there. Our team towed it across an adjacent road to adjacent property where heavy work could be performed, and then the salvage company did their thing. They removed the engines, the APU, actuators of all kinds, avionics, electronics, infrastructure everywhere. And it was a brutal process because, after all, they're wreckers. That's their gig. They destroy things. It was a terrible partnership concept. Don't do it. Once they finished, my team and I cut the wings off. There's the cut line right there. That's just barely outboard the landing gear spars. So the landing gear is still at native straight. And we cut the tail off. You might be able to see a cut line just slightly below the top line of the fuselage. Then separated the stabulator section from the vertical section. So we had 4 flat components, 2 wing components and 2 tail components. Those are loaded onto ordinary flatbed trailers. They were wide loads, so we had to have permits and pilot cars fore and aft, but it was easy to transport those. For the fuselage, we were still just a little bit too long for our route, but just a little bit. So we removed the radome. That was quick and easy and non-destructive and reduced the length by about 1 meter. Normally not enough to make any difference, not be worth the effort, but in this case, it was just enough. And then we retracted the landing gear, all 3, lowered the fuselage onto house-moving dollies, which are short but strong and steerable, whereas the main gear not steerable. That was a critical difference. And then, by towing, fished our way through a very, very carefully planned route through downtown Hillsborough with just centimeters to spare, south on Highway 219, onto my neighbor's property on my east side, and then through that path, cut in my forest for the final leg, and started reassembling. But for version 2.0, we have a clear towing path, wingtip to wingtip, from the airport to the home site. no disassembly, no damage to the aircraft, much easier and cheaper, and that's what I recommend for everybody. So that's how this occurred. And the second story is about how you can do it too, and much better than I did. You want to hear that?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. You can do it too. Here's what I recommend. Find a couple of acres of land or more where you'd like to live next to a big ranch or a big farm. Get chummy with your neighbors. Get friendly with your neighbors. And if your neighbors are eager to buy a new tractor, but they're a little strapped for cash, maybe help them over the threshold so they can buy their new tractor in exchange for use of one section of their property for one day. Then go down to Mojave or Victorville in California and chat with the folks there. Write a check for $35,000, set it on the counter. They will give you full ownership title to a fully intact, fully operational, except engines, MD-80 or MD-90 class jetliner. It's now yours. You own it. It's your baby. You'll need engines. I recommend considering outright purchase of engines. They might be pretty cheap because of the technical error at that time. However, otherwise, maybe lease engines, maybe about $15,000 for a couple of weeks. And you'll need fuel. If you come to this area, about $10,000 worth of fuel, and you'll need a ferry crew, maybe $2,500 to $5,000. So you're up to about $65,000 now. I recommend setting aside $100,000 because in addition to the big chunk cost, you'll have little cost, helping your neighbor with the tractor.
Why do you need the engine?
That'll become clear in just a moment. Yeah. It's a good question, but it'll dovetail. Good. I recommend $100,000 because there'll be incidental costs and mistakes and whatnot. Okay, now all that's arranged. The ferry crew will fly the jetliner from Mojave or Victorville to your neighbor's property. They'll land it on your neighbor's property. They'll notice a bright, shiny new red tractor alongside as they're rolling out. Then just taxi or tow to your nearby or adjacent property. When you arrive, attach the water with a quarter-turn airport ramp connector, just like they do at the airport gates. Attach the sewer with a quarter-turn airport ramp connector. The process takes about as long as my description of the process. Insert the external power connector. You'll also need a 60 hertz to 400 hertz power converter because domestic power is 60 hertz. Shipped power is 400 hertz. Those are readily available, low cost, and quite high quality from Shenzhen, China. Installations in the electronics bay. It's a little bit technical, but not too bad. I can help you with it if you like. Then add a clothes washer and a shower and a dehydrator, and I'll explain why the dehydrator later. And you are home. You're home. You're set. And what you're home in is an aerospace class sealed pressure canister. Dust can't get in, let alone insects or rodents. There's no wood, none. It'll last almost forever. Conventional homes' typical lifetime is about 100 years. And many families, when their kids grow up, they go off to college or work or both, and then they buy a new home because their parents' home is on a downhill slide and they don't want to live with their parents anyway. But they buy a new home. They have to work because they've got a multi-decade mortgage to support. If they have kids, their kids grow up and then they go off to college or work and then they buy a new home because your kid's home is now in the downhill slide. So they have to work. They've got a multi-decade, and this goes on and on and on. Everybody's trapped in a working life. With a jetliner home, your kids are free to do other things in life. And so are their kids and their kids and their kids and their kids. But what I actually recommend is when your kids reach adulthood, help them establish their own jetliner home, a second one. When your grandkids reach adulthood, you and your kids help them establish their own jetliner home. That way nobody has to live with their parents. When your great-grandkids grow up, they can move into your home because you'll be a ghost by then. You've got 3 jetliner homes and your family is free essentially forever with no mortgage overhang. You'll need a dehydrator because jetliners are sealed pressure canisters. With ordinary homes, the wood and other porous organic structures breathe, and so humidity equalizes with the outside world. It's just a normal part of their existence. That can't happen with a jetliner. Humidity is trapped. So you need an active dehydrator to dump the humidity overboard. I have one in my climate control bay. You can get them at Home Depot or Lowe's for $100 or $150. Put it someplace suitable and attach it to a timer, let it run 3 or 4 hours, maybe in the middle of the night, whatever time you think is most efficient. It'll pull moisture out of the air and dump it overboard, and that solves that problem. Okay, but be aware, jetliners are not earthquake resistant. They're earthquake proof. There has never been an earthquake in the geologic history of planet Earth which can overwhelm a jetliner suspension system. Not even close. And you sort of know that because you've seen news reports about earthquakes, right? You've seen newscasters say things like, oh my God, it's horrible. Many people perished. They were crushed by falling debris from collapsing homes and buildings. It's sad. Oh, we lost 2 major buildings in the city. One of our bridges collapsed. There's extensive damage to the highway system, the electrical grid, water infrastructure system. There's damage everywhere. Oh, also out at the international airport, all the jetliners were shaken and destroyed. It's terrible. Have you ever heard that last part? You haven't, have you?
Never.
Yeah, because it's never happened. The jetliners are perfectly fine. There's nothing to them, unless a building falls onto them, but that's never happened either as far as I know. They're earthquake proof. Also, jetliners are not wind resistant. They're wind
Proof.
Yes. The fastest winds ever clocked on planet Earth are about 2.5 times slower than the ordinary cruise speed of a jetliner. The worst typhoon ever for a jetliner is like a, my slow day at work. You make great homes. It's an odd situation. You can spend a lot less money, end up with a far higher quality result, which will last almost forever, and that's likely to continue until the concept catches on, which is our goal with version 2.0.
Hey, well, I hope you liked this video and that you found it informative. So do me a favor, hey, like, share, and subscribe, and then there'll be more. Thanks all. Bye.